Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Your Kids podcast. Today we have with us Whitney. Whitney, introduce yourself.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Whitney Ramirez. I am the owner of Diapers to Deposits. I'm a financial education instructor, and we're currently in the process of launching a nonprofit portion to the for-profit portion of the financial literacy program. So that's a little bit about me. I'm also a prior homeschooling mom and a prior DC public school teacher and a current DoD contractor for the Department of Defense.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're all
Resume,
over the
yes.
place.
I know, right? Okay, let's start with diapers to deposit because I love it. I love the name itself. So please elaborate.
So the names came from the idea that we as parents, adults, teachers, educators should be thinking about a child's financial education from their very first stages of, the diaper stage all the way up until the time they make their first deposit. So that's where that name kind of comes from, diapers to deposits. So we have two curriculums, an advanced track and a beginner's track, and it starts as young as kindergarten and first grade all the way up to the time they make their first deposit pretty much. So we work mostly with children and young adults.
Okay, awesome. So you're providing financial literacy.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, necessary. Oh,
Yes.
yes. And so you're encouraging parents to start from right out the gate, like even
Yep.
as
Like
early as
when you go to the ATM, take your child with you. Yes. Early.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. I use drive-in. Look, I use the drive-through ATM, so they be there. They be in the back seat.
Well, see, here's the thing. We also have to be intentional. So I would encourage parents to like get out of the car, go into the bank, go to the ATM, show them. Because what happens is the reason why some people get their identity stolen is that kids don't know the
Mm,
simplest things of, hey, you're supposed to cover up, the pad while you're typing in your code. These are things that we know that we just
yeah.
don't think about. So you'd be surprised how much we're getting away from things that we just naturally do, and then we don't share that information.
Yes, yes, yes. Because I feel like that's the most like that we lack when we graduate high school in general. Like everyone's like, oh, we don't know what to do with no money. We don't know anything about taxes. Girl, I was what damn near 30 when I got my first like real paycheck from like a salary paycheck.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, what is all this? Like I called the person who had been doing my taxes since I was 18, and she was just laughing, laughing, laughing because I did not know why they were taking all my money. Like
Yeah,
first and foremost,
trust
that was
me.
my concern.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's why I'm just like, okay, financial literacy is a must. And the earlier the better.
Yep, the earlier the better. And what happens is when we start so early, we're not just conditioning the kids to be comfortable talking to us about money, but we're also starting when the parents are comfortable kind of talking about money. Because at that age, they might not have the, deep, hard questions yet. So that
Yeah.
gives you time, but it also starts to make the parent comfortable, like it's okay. I know T. Rowe Price did a survey called Parent, Kids, and Money, saying that 69% of parents are reluctant to talk about money with their kids. And
Mm.
I think it's not just reluctancy, right? Or being reluctant. It's more so they don't feel comfortable. So
Mm.
start when they're young, when they're not asking you what's a 401k. Start when they're
Right.
young, when they're still just trying to count. And the more you start to get comfortable having that conversation, the more you'll feel comfortable later on saying, "Hey, I don't know this, but we can look it up together."
Yes. I was going to say, why do you think they are reluctant though? Do you think it's like a shame or embarrassment that's associated with it? Because we ain't got that much.
Yeah. So here's the thing, and this is speaking of my resume, the next thing to add to my resume is to become an accredited financial counselor
Mm,
because there's a lot of our issues deep rooted in trauma.
yeah.
So and trauma, people when you say people say trauma, they're thinking to themselves like abuse or something. No, no, no. It could be something as simple as growing up in a household where you all went grocery shopping, but then you get to the register and you had to put half your groceries back because the
Mm,
parent over budgeted. That is considered, part of a traumatic experience or something that we have to unpack when it comes to financial psychology. So financial psychology is basically how do we feel, think, and act when it comes towards money, but also where we getting these lessons from. So if the kids are
mm,
getting it from their parents and they're going to the register and seeing you, having to put back groceries and you need the groceries, then as they become adults, they either learn how to go to the register and count it, or they go to the register and repeat those same habits, or they have anxiety when they get to the register. So we have to unpack all
Mm.
of those things, and then have those conversations as well.
Yes, yes. No, yeah, that's some deep stuff. That is very, very true.
I know people like financial psychology is not is I promise you it's not as big as it sounds. It's just a matter of how do you feel about money and where you're learning it
Right.
from.
I ain't gonna go on my issues because I need therapy anyways, but understand that I totally understand where you're coming from with that. It is a
Absolutely.
thing. It's definitely a thing. I don't know. I've had the conversation with my kids early on about I'd be wanting them to know how much stuff costs in general. And with them earning money on their own, it's easier to like, put it into perspective of, okay, y'all want to go do this activity. Well, this activity costs this amount. Or y'all want to go do this. Well, this is this. And so we're able to have those conversations where like my oldest, she's 10, and she'd be like, oh, that that costs $57. I'm like, yes, girl. Like,
Yes, yes, it
it's
does.
just like I need them to know. Especially being a single mom, like I need them to understand, like, oh, we can do things, but please believe we got to budget what we do. And so we all seek a lot of free activities, and we do that as a collective because we understand that free is beautiful. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, the conversations are necessary. Like I told you, my girls are my youngest, she's 7. She's setting up life right now. So playing life, it brings about a lot of talk. She already told me she's going to go to college this go round. So that means that she got to start 100,000, giving the bank
Yeah.
$100,000. And so it's like I love life because of the conversation that it has produced within us. And them being able to know these things so early on.
Hmm.
So I love what you're doing. I love that. When I saw your logo, I was like, Diapers to deposit. What is that?
Yes, absolutely. And then the nonprofit portion that we're in the process of kind of getting together now is the financial field trips. So with the financial field trips, we're basically taking the curriculum on the road. So we have a bus already, and we're going to actually take the kids to the Federal Bureau of Engraving and Printing,
Mm.
go to the banks, go to the credit unions, and then kind of have those conversations while we are there. So we have everything like the play pay stubs, paychecks, the fake cash, everything on it. Even Obama's on our money, so no one can have a fit and say, "Oh my goodness, yeah, y'all playing with money that you're not supposed to be
Mm.
playing with." So, but yeah, so that's the next step as well, is to make sure that we take the curriculum on the road and say, "Hey, we're going to a credit union today. We're going to see a realtor today." So, not too long after we finish here, I have a meeting with the realtors today to say, "Hey, can we come to an open house? How many is
Mm.
allowed to come?" Kind of thing. So usually they'll accommodate a small number, but it's not usually like 30 kids. So it's a really intimate setting because we only usually allow 10 kids to go with us.
I love what you're
Yeah.
doing. How did we get here? How did you like? How did Whitney was like? You know what? This is what I need to do. This is my passion. This is what I need to follow.
Ooh. Well, I've always known I was going to be a teacher. So I knew
Okay.
that when I was probably in elementary school.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the lines, and this is why I guess it's so big for me to kind of also start the nonprofit and then kind of pay it forward as well. I used to work for New York City Transit Authority, so I'm from New York. So I used to work for New York City Transit Authority, and the way I got the job was I was at a event called Harlem Week, and I'm walking down Harlem Week, and the lady says, "Hey, you want to take a test?" And I said, "Sure." She was like, "If you do really
A
good on
minute,
this
you
test."
just volunteered. Sure.
She's like, if you do really good on this test, you got to pay for the civil service exam. And if you do really good on this test, then there's a chance that you might get offered a job and blah, blah. I was like, well, I'm good at taking tests. She hands me the paper to become a train conductor for New York City Transit. I go, my mother goes with me, my mother pays for it. And from there, I was in transportation for about 15 years.
What?
Yeah, I was in transportation for 15 years. And then after that, I was like, all right, I'm going to go and actually do what I wanted to do, which was DC public school. So then I get there, and I, I don't want to say I was being. I got to find the politically correct term here. The systems that are in public schools that will allow this to happen, but won't allow that to happen, and how they
Mm.
treat certain people.
Yes, ma'am.
I was like. this isn't for me. And I remember one of the times the principal comes in and he's like, "What are you teaching them cursive for? They don't need to learn cursive." And mind you, at this point, I have the kids on computers. I have them writing in cursive, that kind of thing. And when he said that, I said, "I need to go. I need to be somewhere where I can teach how I want to teach without somebody
Mhm.
saying this is, not okay, or we don't do cursive anymore, or we don't sign checks anymore." So while a lot of people think we're going to completely get rid of cash, cash is going to be king. Think about how many people, contractors especially, come to us and they come into our homes and they fix something. If you pay them in cash, you're likely to be able to say, "Hey, can I get a discount?" or something of that sort, because they don't have to go through the processing fees of credit cards. So so I was like, okay, this isn't it. So while I'm inside of the schools, I actually started diapers to deposits, and then I got
Right.
started with the financial literacy program. And then initially I started off and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just start with coaching. So I started off with coaching, and then as I'm teaching adults, believe it or not, this is why I shifted from adults. I was a young man came to me, and he wasn't young. He was probably well, he's young. He's about 50 or so, and he had four sons, and he was saying, "I want to buy a house." I said, "Well, then I'm going to tell you to do something really extreme, but if you do it, I promise you it'll work." And I said, "If it don't work, you can call me back and chew me out or whatever the case may be." So I told him, I said, "The 5 bedroom apartment you're living in, paying I don't know close to $3,000 for,
Mm.
go get a 2 or 3 bedroom." "Do what? How am I supposed to date and have women come over and blah blah?" I said, I'm not a dating coach. I'm not a dating coach. Do you want to buy a house, or I'm confused? You tell me you want to buy a house. So he eventually, I think he was annoyed with me by the end of the conversation, and he hangs up. And it is what it is. About a year later, he called me and he said, "I wish you could come see the house."
Oh,
Because he downgraded and did exactly what I told him. And the reason why I told him to do it was because the kids get to see that glow up with you. Don't
yeah.
try to hide it from them. Don't tell them, we're, broke and blah blah blah. No, no, no. Show them what's going on. Don't put
Okay.
broke in your vocabulary, and then, execute. And when they see the end result, they'll learn it's okay to scale back to fly up, or, shoot for the moon and actually get there, kind of thing. So once that happened, I was like, adults are a little more hard headed than kids. I thought kids were the hard.
What? Girl, you better speak.
I was like, adults are a little more hard headed. Let me go, with the babies. And if by some chance, adults come to me and they want assistance, then fine, we'll help them as well. But our target isn't them because they are more hard headed than the kids.
Right, girl.
Yeah. So then, after COVID, COVID gave everybody so much time on their hands, right? We
Mm-hmm.
decided to revamp the program, switch over from an LLC to a corporation, and then that has allowed us to be in more spaces than versus just a regular LLC. So
Nice.
that's pretty much how we completely got here. And then in
Yeah.
regards to talking about money, I could talk about money like for hours. If you leave it to me, I could definitely talk about money for hours. But and I was hoping I could have made it to your May home expo, but unfortunately, I think that day I
Oh, the
think the
one in
kids are.
Maryland?
Yes, because we're actually
Yeah.
based in Maryland.
Oh,
We
okay.
Yeah, we're based in Maryland, but we have partnerships currently with Montgomery County Recreations, I think Baltimore County as well, and also two schools up in New York as well. So we have teachers pretty much all over the place.
That is so dope.
Yeah.
I love that. What grade were you teaching?
In DC, second grade. So second and third
Okay.
grade. And then eventually, when I did resign, the new principal that rolled in looked at my record and said, "You did some amazing work this year. Can I move
Oh,
you up to fifth grade so we can make sure these fifth graders can read and graduate?" But by then, I was already out the door. I kind of, that other principal definitely gave me a run for my money.
right. I know that's how it be, honey. That is how it
Right.
be. Oh my goodness.
It's like, it's okay.
Yes, because it's it provides what you need. I guess it's like fuel. I feel like teaching in the public school system be like fuel because it's like, okay, we see what needs to be changed. We see what's not
Yeah.
right. We see what's not working. And so
Yep.
it like our will, especially the passionate teachers like you, I was a From elementary on up, I already knew I wanted to be a teacher. So the wheels are turning like, when I get in this classroom, I'm gonna do this, do this, do that. Then we get in the classroom and it's like, oh, we can't do that.
You better speak on it, honey, because
We can't.
the things that they will stop you from doing, and it's like,
Yes,
but it makes
ma'am.
sense to do this because, and they still like, no, and it's like, okay. But
Yes.
I will say, teachers are probably our best employees, honestly,
Mm.
because our lesson plans are already drafted up. So what we do is we use a software called Planbook, and then we load up all the lessons in there, and then the teachers just kind of read through it, and then they go in and teach. So they're pretty much our best.
Oh, I'm sure. Is it virtual or is it in person?
Both. So
Both. Okay.
wherever we're called out to be, then that's exactly where we go. So sometimes we do pop-ups at a community center, or they'll ask us to do out and come out and do conferences. Currently, we're doing a program in New York until the end of the school year. So I have teachers going in there between 8:40, 9:40 for an hour. They teach their class and then they come back, the following week kind of thing. And then the second location is all day. So that schedule's a little weird, but it's okay. Whoever needs it.
Okay, nice. And so what are the like how long does this like is it a course or is it like is it a workshop? How does that look? How does it look?
It's more so of a workshop, and the best time frame is between 45 minutes to an hour. 45 minutes to an hour is absolutely perfect because what happens is 45 minutes puts us at a position where we're moving fast enough, and that reminds the teacher to also move fast. But we're moving fast enough that by the time the kids look up, they're like, "It's over." So
Oh,
we kind of like that kind of setting as well. And then during that time we have games and stuff. So we have the S&P memory game. So the
mm,
S&P memory game is our game that we created to help kids learn what tickers are. So when they're thinking about the stock
mm,
market and investing in
yeah.
the stock market, they start to learn what tickers are. And then once we do that, we then say, hey, we're going to virtually invest in these stocks, or we're going to virtually invest in the stock market, and every student is given $100,000 virtually to invest in the stock market.
Oh, dope.
What they don't know is the reason why we play the S&P memory game is because when the teacher gets up there and says, "Hey, what companies do you want to invest in?" We pretty much have trained their brains to pick the ones that are already in the deck of cards because we
Hmm.
know that they're going to do well over time.
Nice. I
Yes.
love
So
that. Oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Yeah. So, okay, do they like as far as the workshop go, is it various topics? Like you could sign up for this workshop or that workshop. That's,
oh,
maybe you have a workshop that's teaching about bank accounts and how to bank account, open a bank account or write checks or da 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 da. And then you have like the S&P that you say you were playing. Like, is it
mhm.
different topics for each workshop or is it a single workshop that you're offering across like, for each age, I guess? Like, how does it?
No, it's not necessarily a single workshop, but the program is tailored to who we're partnering with, or let's say if a
Okay.
homeschooling family wanted something, the program is tailored to them. So I know a lot of people will say they tailor a program, but they have a cookie cutter kind of layout. No, we actually ask you, what is it that you want to learn? And then what is it that you want us to teach? What do your kids need? Kind of thing. We ask all those questions and then we tailor the program. So that's also the reason why I'm not necessarily out teaching right now because I have the instructors who are out teaching, but I'm the one kind of creating the programs, doing the program intake form. Hey, what do you want to learn? What's most important to you? What are your goals? That kind of thing. And then we create the program. And I can even show you one of our books that I have here. So, and like this big student guide, I don't think you can see it because I have a virtual background, right?
Yeah,
So
I
in
know
the
it's
big,
a little
in the
scattered, like yeah.
Yeah, so in this book is about 500 pages, and then we cover
Mhm.
topics anywhere between accounts, how to open up account management. So that's basically how to make sure your account doesn't go in the negative. Business entrepreneurship. So because we also have logins for Wix, so we can teach you how to build a website.
Nice.
We teach kids how to create games as well. What else? There's budgeting, there's credit, there's debt, there's loans, there's investing, there's how to buy your first home, there's can I rent that, can I afford that, and then how to buy a car too. So that's also one of the field trips that we take too. We go over to a car dealership, before we get there, they already have their fake pay stubs or their play pay stubs. They already have
Yes.
their play check. They already have the number of how much car they can afford based on the scenario we ran before we left the office. And then once we get there, it's like, okay, can we afford this car here? And then we kind of go through that scenario with them. So when it comes to picking, yeah, it's a bunch. We even cover insurance as well, but most of the kids do not like insurance, so we stay away from it. And we also stay away from hiring insurance agents, because the last thing we want is for our instructors to come in and teach, but then now they're trying to sell you insurance
Hell,
as
I
well.
about to, that's
No, no, no. We teach and we just want you to learn. That's it. We don't no, we're not I'm not an insurance agent. That's one thing I as many times and I tell you I get it all the time. There you would be surprised. My LinkedIn is full of your profile is perfect to be an insurance agent. I was like,
mm,
I don't want to sell it. And then when I explained to them the goal, the ultimate goal of life should be to get a term life policy for 20 years, however, whatever that term is, and to get your life together in that 20 years. When you get to the point where your assets outweigh your liabilities, you don't need life insurance. You put everything in a trust, and then once your assets outweigh your liabilities, then those assets are going to pay for your liabilities if something were to happen. So I'm not. I'm
Whitney,
not a fan.
I want to go to these classes.
Look, you absolutely can. Everyone is welcome.
I need these workshops, Whitney. Like, teach me. Oh my goodness, this is so important. This
Yes.
is so important. This is beyond. And I'm glad you're turning it into a nonprofit, because it's definitely you need to, girl, like,
Yeah.
like it definitely needs to be across the board, across the nation.
Yep.
Oh
So
my.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we cover everything. So our curriculum, we have two. In regards to like the younger kids, and that's why I said the beginners curriculum. The beginners curriculum is about elementary to middle, and then the advanced curriculum is high school to adults. And with the beginners curriculum, and what we'll do too is when it comes to like coin recognition, we'll have like cutouts and then coins that the kids can connect to a snail, and we call it snail money, and that just helps them with like coin recognition. So, and once they learn that kind of coin recognition, then we start counting coins, and then they play with the play money, of course, and what else? Oh, we also do scavenger hunts. The
Mm,
kids love the scavenger hunts. So usually the scavenger hunt will rhyme or something, and it'll say, I can't even think of one off the top of my head, but it's them looking for things around the room. So they might be looking for a check, or they might be looking for a credit card, or they might be looking for what else do we have? Warren Buffett's book, The Secret Millionaires Club. That's a big part of our curriculum as
mm,
well, because I don't know if you know, but he has what is it, about 20 episodes on financial literacy that's in a cartoon animated format.
no, I did
Yeah,
not
it's called
know.
it's called the Secret Millionaires Club. So we do that with the kids as well, where a teacher will either go in and read the book to them because he has a book as well, or we'll do the video, and then the video is only about 5 minutes, so it's not a long episode, but that kind of jump starts the conversation with them too. Yeah, so we
Hey,
tailored it all the way across the board. There's not a soul that's left out.
I love that. I love that. Are you all partnering with I feel like well, I'm assuming that with the nonprofit being established that you'll be able to partner more with public schools and
Fingers crossed, but believe it or not, there is a lot of red tape with public schools. We
really
it's so much easier to partner with recreations and parks,
mm,
private schools, or other nonprofits who kind of have their organization already set up. It's easy to partner with kind of them. It's a little harder to get into the schools, and we're actually partners and vendors of DC public schools, of Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and the charter schools. So we're still navigating our way into the school system. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe with the nonprofit being established as well, they will. But honestly, the
mm,
truth of the matter is the conversations aren't happening. But
mm,
it's the conversations that aren't happening. It's not like we're getting there, they're looking and saying, "Oh my goodness, you charge too much." The conversations to get to the people we need to talk to is like
or
pulling teeth.
not.
Yeah.
Mm.
But when it comes to like, let's say your more affluent neighborhoods, they're just like, when are you starting? Can you start right now? So, hmm and
Mm.
which is interesting because I know at one of the schools we were at here in Maryland, it was, I think tuition was what, $40,000 for the year. So to know that they would take on a program like this, I'm thinking to myself, well, if the parents, have this, of course, amount of money, wouldn't you think that they would kind of just kind of pass down the information and they wouldn't need a program like this? But no,
Mm.
they're like, hey, you teaching what? Come on in. What are the kids gonna learn by this time? And even one of the little boys that was there, he was like, yeah, my mother said I have to listen to this, and if I learn something every single day and bring it home, I'm getting a Nintendo Switch. And I was like, okay, well, let's make sure you get that Switch. I'm gonna help you. I'm like
Intended,
dedicated
yeah.
to the cause right now.
Right.
I'm thinking it's my Switch. I'm like, did we get the Switch or no? Yeah.
Right. I mean, maybe they don't know how to teach it. Maybe, they know how to put it into practice, but not
Yeah.
necessarily how to mentor or guide theirs to put. 'Cause I always wonder that too. And you see a lot of celebrities have the conversation of like, oh, well, my child gonna have to work for this, or they're gonna have to do this for this. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you show them what you've done? Or why would like, why wouldn't you set it up that they don't have to work that hard for it, but to like teach them money management, teach them what they can do with their own, as opposed to making it harder for them. I don't know.
Well, in regards to them working for it, I do think that if you don't make a lot of these kids work for it, then they're going to lose it. So
Mm,
if you just, I know me personally, like I have two homes. If I just give it to my son and expect him not to lose it, I don't think that's, I don't think that makes
yeah,
sense. I think you have to kind of let them go through life. And then once you look at them and look like you think they kind of got it figured out, then say, hey, here you go. But I think you kind of have to let them
work
kind of
in
grow,
some way.
experience,
Yeah,
work, hustle, see what it is. Because if you make everything easy for them, the moment something happens, look at all the entitled people now, they're crying over things that it's like, this is what you're crying over? I mean, this thing, there's like bigger things to cry over here. So and I know we're, of course, crying is subjective. So what might be a small thing to you might be a big thing to someone else. But at the same time, I think it's necessary to have the kids kind of tough it out a little bit as well. So, but I agree. Some parents probably like, yeah, I got here, but what do I tell the kids? How do I get how I So
right.
I get it because that's why I also one of the instructors we were meeting yesterday because we have a meeting every Monday called Mastermind Meetings and the team kind of gets together and share their experiences. And as she's talking, she was like, "Yeah, I was telling the kids what a CVV code is and where your name goes and why you should or should not sign the back of the card and why you should or should not mail cash." And just to hear her talk, I kind of highlighted what she said and said, "Hey, Mac, you want to make sure that you're also thinking about these things too, because I think we skip over those small things, forgetting to tell the kids, the simplest things. Of course, later on they might find out, but why not just tell them now instead of having them to jump through hurdles later when they could have just known right off the back now. So yeah.
Yeah, I know I was talking to I consider him like one of my nephews. He got a little gambling issue. And I told him, why don't you gamble with the stock market? Like, at least that is little, like, a more of a guarantee if you do your research and actually, put work into it, as opposed to, just betting and like hoping for the best. But I feel like gambling is being pushed so heavy on this, this next generation that it's like all my nephew, my blood nephew, they all gamble. Like, it's like real heavy. They betting on everything, parlaying this, and I'm looking up what does parlay mean? Like, like I'm looking up stuff and
You know what?
whatnot.
Now that you said that, I've seen that ad before, but I didn't. I guess I just didn't know what it was. I'm glad I know it's a gambling ad now. I will never click on it.
Yes, like
I
if you
did
look at a
see.
lot of the podcasts, like I sometimes listen to Shannon Sharp podcast, and like he all throughout like 85 South show all throughout. Like it's always some kind of betting. And it's like I don't like it. It's like a predatory thing that's is going on with the younger generation. I'm like, if you gonna gamble, like at least gamble in the stock market, because I do feel like the stock market is definitely a gamble, but it's like more of a educated gamble. Like it's like more of a okay, you can win big for real if you play your cards right and do the proper research. You can win, but it's just so
Yeah,
much
so
that we don't know.
in that case, I would suggest trading options. With
Mm,
trading options, that would be probably a little better in regards to seeing your returns faster, because a lot of the times when you go purchase options, options are underneath what they call like contracts. So if
mm,
you buy two or three contracts, those contracts can expire in a day or they can expire on Friday. And then once
right.
that happens, you can choose whether you're going to take your profits and all that other stuff. So I would suggest trading options, not necessarily just investing in stock, because when you think about investing in stock, we're investing for the long haul.
Long run,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I would
And
say
gamblers
trading
don't want
options.
to hear that. Look, gamblers don't want to hear
Mm-mm,
that. They
mm-mm.
want it now, right now.
No, it's probably best to trade options in that regard. We even have a part of one of our like marketing material. We have a casino chip that says "Don't gamble with your finances," and at the
Mm.
bottom it has something smart like "Call us now" or something before you know just something crazy. So that was for all of those who go out and gamble. Like the one of the guys, he was like, "I play golf. I'm gonna use this while I'm playing golf," and I was like,
Oh,
"Okay."
nice,
It's
nice.
like okay, and then even with let's say homeschooling families as well, we offer homeschooling families that same financial field trip as well. And then, of course, some parents are not comfortable like just dropping off their kids. So those that don't feel comfortable, they're welcome to take the trip with us and get on the bus with us and go to these field trips as well. And then those that want to drop off their kids, we
Nice.
also have that here in Baltimore County where you can come in, drop your kids off for about 2 hours, and then we would have that financial literacy instruction, the gaming, all of that good stuff. And then if they need like any other work they need to get done, and they would sit here and get it done. So as far as the homeschooling families, they kind of like it as well. We kind of try to stay away from platforms where all of the instruction is virtual. We do have some classes that are virtual or some recordings that are available, but for the most part, if we can be hands on and let's say, hey,
Yes.
we all go to a library and a homeschool. Like I know there's one homeschool group that has us planning their trips for them in July. So we're going to meet in Anne Arundel County, meet inside the library. We'll probably do a 30-minute like lesson, and then the rest of the lesson will happen on the bus. We have our bus holds what 10 passengers, well 12, but we take 10, and then each pair gets an iPad. That's one help us track them. You know, they hold on to the iPad, we know where they are, kind of thing. But also when they're traveling, they get a chance to read through the material. There's a video already loaded on them for them to kind of do that. And then we also use Classroom. So I don't know if you heard of Apple's Classroom. It allows you to
That's
look at what they're doing on the iPad, so that way they can't, you know, go on any websites they're not supposed to be on as well. Yeah,
nice. Yes.
yeah,
I could definitely, and homeschooling parents like to learn with their kids too. Like I feel
yes,
like that's a great asset as far as homeschoolers go. It's like we know that we are, we don't have it all figured out, nor do we know everything. So
yep.
we definitely take time into, like I told you, girl, these workshops. I need to attend them. So, you want to talk on your homeschooling experience? You started with that too.
Yes.
You were a homeschooler for a little bit. How was that?
Well, so to be completely transparent, I guess I'm one of those COVID homeschooling moms.
Okay.
So what happened was, as I was teaching in DC public schools, my son came to me and he said, "Mommy, why you don't homeschool me?"
Mm,
And I look at him and I'm like, when I tell you, it has never dawned on me. Like I don't come from a family where I don't want to say it, you know, to be rude, but I don't come from a family where that was even an option. I did not know about homeschooling. So if I have to be honest, I learned about homeschooling through my son. He came to
yeah.
me and said, "Why don't you homeschool me?" And I was like, that's a pretty good question. I'm a teacher. I know stuff. I could do. I'm sorry. I'm just like, I was like, I could do that, couldn't I? But then, so I said, Kai, can I give this some thought? And he says, okay. And I don't know why he asked me or blah blah blah.
I was
So
gonna say, who was he talking to?
I don't know. So I was like,
Hmm.
okay, all right. Then COVID hits, right? And I know here in Maryland, I think it was like a Friday. They said, hey, we're gonna take the kids out of school. I believe what was it, March or something. And
Hmm.
then in 2 weeks we'll have them come back. I immediately sent out the form. You'd be surprised how much I learned over the course of the weekend. Monday morning, he was withdrawn from school. I wasn't waiting on
Mm.
the school system. I said, you know what? No, I've been in the school system and I know this is something you all have never seen before. And because you
Mm.
all have never seen this before, it's time that I take over his education and do it that way. So Monday morning, before they could even probably make up their minds what they were going to do, I had made up my mind. As soon as he came home, I said, "You're not going back. That's it."
How old was he?
At the time, he was finishing up fifth grade.
Okay.
So, yeah,
About
so he was,
11, 10, 11.
I would say 10 because New York allows you to start school when you're 4. So he's younger than
Okay.
everybody else here. So probably about 10 at the time. So I was like, that's it. You're out of school. He was like, huh? I said, you remember you asked me to homeschool you, right?
Right? Exactly. Don't
I
backtrack
said,
now, sir.
I said, did you change your mind? He says, no, 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 let's do it.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So that was an amazing experience. And before I even did that, though, I did call his dad is in New York, so I called his dad, and I said, hey, what do you think about me homeschooling Kai because I don't think this is going to go well in regards to what they're planning on doing next. And he says, Whitney, you're a teacher. I was like, okay. I was like, well, I'll take that as a yes, no, mind. Like, so he was completely on board with it as well. And then I know sometimes when I'm in the homeschooling groups, I hear, which is heartbreaking, some of the families or moms who are like, hey, I don't have uh, support from everyone else, and a lot of times I'll get on there and say, stop talking to them then.
Right?
So when I mentioned homeschooling, I didn't talk to everybody and see how
Mm.
things were going. I didn't ask you for your opinion. I didn't even share anything. I called his dad, and that was the only phone call I made. Because the last thing I need to hear is you telling me that I can't do this or that this isn't going to work
Mm-mm.
or what makes you think you can do. Mm-mm. No, 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 no. So
No,
I
no,
will.
no.
No,
Yes.
I don't even give. I don't even give people room to kind of inject your no. Don't put your fears and your
Yes.
whatever you can't do on me. So I was like, that's okay. So once his dad said that's fine, then it came down to finding all of the curriculums. To which I quickly learned not to buy any one curriculum to cover everything. That right there probably was like the biggest lesson I learned, that it was okay to say, hey, I like your math, your English, your science, and kind of do it that way as well. And I would say the best part of being able to homeschool was the time we got to cook together. So while we were cooking, we were reading. We were determining what's good for us, what's not good for us. So we had health and science in the kitchen, and we made a brain out of dough. It was, I tell you, the kitchen looked like who did it and why, and I was just like, oh boy. So yeah, and then if I had to give, I guess, homeschooling families advice as well, if you could afford to kind of get help in regards to, like, let's say cleaning up. So if you know you're going to do a science project every Friday and you can afford to have maybe a cleaning crew come out once a month, let them come out. We don't have to do
Mm.
everything.
Yes.
We don't have to do
Yes.
everything. Let them come out, help us, and that'll give you more time to be with your child as well. And that's when we used to take the field trips. When the cleaning crew came in, we'd go out on a field trip so that when by the time we came home, it was like magic or something.
Like, ta-da.
There's nothing that makes you
Yes.
feel more powerful than being out homeschooling for a day with your child and the home's being cleaned and you get back home and you're like, ha, I did two things today. Really good.
Yes. Were
So
y'all a
yeah,
part of any co-ops or anything?
the only co-op that we did join was Home Educators Leading the Way. So she
Mm.
was super helpful, and I told her what our plan was. I said, at some point in time, I think he's going to want to go back to school, but I know he's not going back to school before high school. Um,
Mm.
and then when it was time to go back, she's the one that kind of helped us put the report card together because I wasn't doing report cards like I wasn't doing report cards for the last 2 or 3 years. I don't know,
Mm,
kind of thing. So um, and then she kind of guided us and gave us information. So I told my son, I said, "Hey, either you get into this magnet program, or you're not going to public school."
mm,
And the logic behind that was the school that's we're zoned for. Mm-mm.
mm.
No, honey, you're not going there. You're not going there. I'm not sending you there at
Right.
all. So I know that played like a major factor. He understood that. Like I was like, if you get into this school, get into their magnet program, fine, you can go back to school. But if you don't get in to a magnet program, then you can't go to the school with zone four. It's out of the question. It was definitely. He's like, okay, I understand. I was like, okay, good.
So you
And
homeschool during middle school, like the middle school time.
yeah,
Okay.
the whole middle school, and I think he
Right.
understood because I think my son also, and I don't know if all homeschool kind of kids understand this, the privilege that you kind of have to kind of be away from the everyday foolery. I don't know
Right.
if they value it, but my son kind of saw it firsthand, especially when you start looking at the news and you're seeing these young black boys dying or the blah blah blah. You're like, you're safe here because you don't have to go out into the foolishness. And then when we do go outside, you go with me, versus you having to get on the bus and travel there and travel back kind of thing. So I think that's another important thing too, like making sure our kids are safe all the time. So I'm
Indeed.
sure I'm a helicopter mom, but that's neither here nor there.
Hey, hey. I mean, how society is set up right now, like it kind of pushes you there.
Yeah,
It
it
definitely
does.
does. How was his transition back to well, he went to a magnet school, but how was his transition back to school?
Um, it was pretty good. He was actually, so here's the thing, with the magnet school, they threaten you early on when you first get there. They tell you if your grades aren't this and you don't show up, you can go back to your zone school. You don't have to stay here.
To the
And I tap
trenches.
I tapped my son like, did you hear? He's like, Mommy, stop elbowing me. I heard them. I said, okay. So I think the idea of one, and he's also full aware that sometimes you go into the schools and for some reason they think our kids may have missed out on something or they're behind. No, most of
Mm-hmm.
the times our kids are ahead of y'all.
Are ahead, yes.
Yeah. So I told him, I said, well, just make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. And of course, C's are failing in this house.
No.
C's are failing. Like you're on punishment if you come in this house with,
Oh, you sound like my mama.
yes, he's a felon. And he doesn't. Here's the thing: he doesn't even have to go to college. I'm not one of those moms who feel like he
Oh,
has to go to
nice.
college. But you have to finish you have to finish high school though. You have to be able to read. You have to be A's and B's. That you have to do. And if by some chance you want to go to trade school, I don't care. If you want to go drive a bus for the rest of your life, I don't care. I don't care what you go to, but you're gonna finish high school and you're gonna finish with A's and B's. And if by some chance you get a scholarship and you want to go somewhere, at least you've given yourself that opportunity to kind of get there as well. And I have to admit, those who do homeschool through high school, I think they some brave souls. Because I was looking like, I don't think I know how to do this math.
Right.
I'm not even sure I paid attention during this time in school, so I'm not sure. But at the same time, I also understand why programs like this are so important because when we go out and start talking about, like you said, investing, and we talk about credit cards and interest rates, the decimals and learning about how to do percentages is where all of that kind of comes in, especially when it comes to calculating your money and the rule of 72 and what's the formula for the rule of 72 kind of thing. So yeah, it's definitely was a journey. Having him transition into school, he did really well. Of course, he didn't fail any classes, so I wasn't worried about that. Um, I will say, just in case there are some homeschooling families who decide to transition, if your son is confident and cocky like mine, he thinks he doesn't have to study because of them being a little more advanced. He just thinks
Mm-hmm.
everything's supposed to come to him easy. That's not the case. Everything doesn't come to you easy. You've just been well prepared over the whole course of
Right.
your life because I've been intentional about your learning. And then even before when he asked me about homeschooling him, one thing that I've been doing since he was probably 4 and was able to recognize numbers is I was taking him to the ATM. We were going to take
Mm.
out the cash that we were going to spend for the day and then kind of have him say, all right, let's count this out. How much money do we have left? When we run out of money, we're going home, kind of thing. And then even while he was in public school doing elementary school, at no point in time have I ever been a hands off kind of parent. I've
Nice.
always been someone who, here's the homework the school gave you. Now here's mommy's homework. He had mommy's homework for like forever, and that might be where he got the idea to be homeschooled from, because he's had
Nice.
mommy homework since kindergarten. There's their homework, the little coloring.
He was tired of doing both. He said, hey, I'm gonna just sign me up for mommy's homework because this is too much.
I just always felt like the schools wasn't pushing
Yeah.
the kids enough, so I was like, all right, that's their homework. Here's mommy's homework, and I always tried to stay hands on because he did have one of those projects where what were the benefits of slavery. He's been
Mm,
one of those kids that have one of those projects, and it's just like, all right, let's unpack who benefited this from this, and let's go from there because I don't want you to think one way
mm.
when we should be looking at the big picture as well. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
so
Those
that's probably where
history
he got it from.
lessons.
hmm
Nice. What's his passion? What is he into?
So before it was science. So when we
Mm.
were homeschooling, he was just like science. But then I don't know if it has something to do with the fact that I bought a foreclosed property and
Mm.
there's a lot of work that needed to be done around the house, but the house is completely worth it. But um, there's a lot of work that needed to be done around the house. So now he's into construction.
Nice.
I don't know where that comes from either. But
Awesome.
I would assume that it has something to do with the fact that I bought a foreclosed property and every time you turn around it was like, all right, the hot water needs to be replaced. We need to change the kitchen and can I get a plumber out here because the not the HVAC some pump stopped working and the basement flooded. So that might be what piqued his interest into construction now. So now he's heavily in construction and lacrosse.
And lacrosse. What a combo.
Look, I was like, okay. I said, whatever you want to do. And
I
then
feel like that's a big thing in Maryland, lacrosse. I don't know why, but I feel like it is.
that and they love football too. So I think Maryland loves like football and lacrosse, and it's just like okay. And I know I went to one of his football games, and I was like, "Well, are you going to teach me the game?" And the guy looks at me, he was like, "You don't know football?" And I was like, "Well, just tell everybody."
First of all, I didn't come here for that. Okay.
I was like, and then I think the one of the moments that I was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." When a player gets injured, they all kneel. And I didn't.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And everybody's looking at me like,
Oh, you
"Ma'am,
ain't played no sports when you were growing up, huh?
I ain't play them. I ain't watch them." I think the only person I watched was Shaquille O'Neal. That was it. And I just like watching him because I just figured the way he threw his weight around and like I don't have to do much. I could just push you out there if I wanted to. I just
Basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I love it. Like you are helping to break cycles, love. Like I love what you're doing. So needed. So needed on all spectrums. Like very, very much needed. So I know that your nonprofit is going to grow into everything you need it to be. I
Yeah.
know that you're going to continue to change like futures, generations, and help heal those traumas
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
they are present. And I love to speak with people who are doing the work to make sure that we are healing in the process of learning. So thank you. Thank
Of
you. Thank
course.
you. Where do we find diapers to deposit?
So you can find us on the web, of course, at www.diapers, the number two,
Mm-hmm.
deposits.com. And then on Instagram, our current handle is financial field trips with the S at the end. And then and the reason why I say current handle because eventually we're going to move that handle to the nonprofit, but we've been holding that handle hostage on purpose. so,
Nice. Good job.
so financial field trips, and then to kind of call and reach out to us, it's 844-70 savvy. So SAVVY, and we've had that number since 2016. So we've had that number for a long time.
Nice.
And then I think that's about it in regards to finding. And then in regards to like let's say homeschooling, we are in the process of finishing up our financial literacy curriculum box for the homeschooling families. And inside the box is the box, first of all, the box looks like a purse, and you'll see it on our website as well. But inside of there, they have the play pay subs, the play money, the planner, so things like a little notebook that they have in there as well, a few stickers as well, and then the curriculum itself is actually available digitally online as well. So they'll be able to kind of like go through that with us as well.
Hi, thank you, thank you. And before I let you go, I need three things that you would tell parents. Let's speak on the financial literacy aspect. Three things you would tell parents to, like, I guess, focus on early on, um,
Mhm.
as opposed to later on. Like a lot, a lot of us think, oh, they're not old enough for this yet. What are three things that you feel like, hey, they walking and talking? Go and put this in them.
Privacy and protection. So
Mm,
I would start there. And when I speak of privacy and protection, I'm talking about from I know with my son, if I was going to enter to the bathroom or his room, I knock on his door first.
mm,
And if I'm knocking, that teaches you to advocate for yourself if somebody else just barges in on you, right? So privacy and protection, and then I expect that same kind of respect and space in return. But the reason why I started there as well, and I don't know if you've heard of caller ID phishing. So what's
mm,
happening now is um, scam artists have found a way that when they call your phone and the caller ID comes up, it'll say the IRS or it'll say some government agency or to have a name up there that you would
mm,
recognize, and it looks like it's authentic and it's not. So to speak about it in the financial world, um, things like protecting them against scammers, not giving out information, being careful with your digital footprint, being careful with what you actually speak out your mouth when you're on social media, when you're on live. Just because you feel like you can delete it doesn't mean you should say it, kind of thing. And then, of course, not sharing your personal information. And then, of course, even like, let's say if you have money or something. So protecting that and kind of keeping that private and keeping that close. I think we're getting away from privacy and protection because social media encourages you to be so open and
what's
share.
on your mind?
Mm-mm. I say stay away from that part. So I would start there to make sure our kids don't immediately leave our homes and walk into a scam artist's hand. So,
Mm,
believe it or not, Craigslist still exists. Um, Even with Roomster, you go in there and you're trying to rent a room. There are scam artists there. There are scam artists on Etsy. So I would say safeguard your money, and that's how you safeguard them. You show them these kind of things. And then when it comes to, let's say, banking or something, if a bank calls you and says, "Hey, so and so, we just called to verify your information. Can you tell us your address?" That's not you verifying the information. That's you telling them
telling
your
them.
address.
Mm,
So it's important for privacy and protection. The second thing is transparency. Don't be afraid to show your kids your mistakes and your wins, and then highlight the wins and make sure those are louder than your mistakes. But highlight those and show that to them so that way they can see you go through it and see how you got through it as well. Because what happens is a big reason why a lot of people don't have healthy relationships now is because most of our parents try to hide their relationships from us. And oftentimes we were told to exit the room and don't be here and stay out of grown folks' business. But that in and of itself does not help us build sound relationships. So I think it's important that we allow our kids to build sound relationships. And that relationship transitions to the banks, it transitions to the workplace, it transitions to advocating for yourself. You can advocate for yourself without screaming, yelling, and cursing. You can
yeah.
get what you want, and you can also learn that it's okay to walk away. So that would be the second. And then the last part would be definitely investing. So a lot of people are always like, it's always easy to um, go out, and a lot of other programs are like, okay, here's how you save, here's how you budget. They're all doing that already, right? That's easy to find. Strategies are easy to find. I would say the third thing is um, start working on teaching your kids how to invest. And even if you yourself don't know how to invest, find things that they can read and that you all can read together. And then use a stock market simulator. So if you go into like Google Play Store or the Apple Store and you type in stock market simulator, let them fiddle and play around with it. And you'd be surprised how they'll understand that before we understand it, and you don't even have to
Mhm.
explain much to them when it comes to that part. So that probably would be the three things as far as privacy and protection, relationships, establishing them and when to walk away from them. Same thing with entrepreneurship. If you were to go into um, do business with someone, I know sometimes we sit at the table with people and they're ready to lowball us. Be ready to walk away from the table, even if
Yeah.
that means yes, you might need that dollar, but at the same time, what's meant for you is going to be for you. So another dollar's coming. Don't worry. It's abundance out here. So
Indeed.
yeah, those would be the three things.
Whitney, you are a literal wealth of knowledge, and I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
so much, so, so much. Thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, families, you heard it. Like, hey, it's never too early to start teaching our young ones how to manage finances. And if you are still in the process yourself, admit it and seek out the literacy for yourself too. I know I have plenty to learn myself, and I definitely have traumas to heal within myself as far as money and my relationship with money goes. Um, so just that seek that support. Whitney is here. She's here. Diapers to
Yeah.
deposits is here. So please definitely seek your community, seek your support, seek your just what you need. You know what you need. And
Yeah.
there's no shame in it either.
Yeah, and then
Know
if by
that.
some chance, let's say we all wanted to like get a group together, you wanted us to come out or have someone kind of come out and run through a day with everyone, we're always here to do that as well. So that's why when I say, look, we're from Virginia, New York right now, that's because when someone picks up the phone and says, hey, we need this at this location, we usually are able to accommodate and, kind of work out the details as well. So absolutely, we are here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, parents. Homeschool your
Yeah.
kids.
It's good for 'em.